Today I plan to talk to you about the correlation between child disabilities and the presence of child abuse and neglect, not only in biological homes, but in foster care and institutions as well. First, we need to go over a few definitions. Physical neglect is the non-organic failure to thrive, inadequate supervision, abandonment, and failure to meet a child's basic needs. Medical neglect is the refusal to provide health care or a delay in getting health care. Educational neglect is permitting truancy, failure to send a child to school, or to enroll them in school, and inattention to special educational needs. Emotional neglect is the inattention to a child's emotional needs. Mental health neglect is the refusal to tend to a child's serious emotional and behavioral disorder. Emotional or psychological neglect is the inadequate nurturance, inadequate affection, refusal to provide adequate care, and allowing maladaptive behavior such as the use of drugs and/or alcohol. Physical abuse is an injury that leaves a mark, such as a bruise or burn. Sexual abuse is the use of a child for the sexual gratification of an adult or any sexual activity with a child under the age of consent. Emotional psychological abuse is verbal or emotional assaults, threatened harm, or close confinement. Special needs is any physical, emotional, behavioral, or learning disability or impairment that requires additional or specialized services or accommodations. Some examples are autism, Down syndrome, brain injuries, or cerebral palsy. A literary review by Leb, Bitsko, Murick, and Amor found that there was limited support for increased risk of child abuse or maltreatment among children with disabilities, but the relationship between the two was significant. They also found that the risk varies by type of maltreatment and the type of disability. A study conducted by Hilton and Brune examined disabilities as a continuum of abilities in different domains for children 3 to 10 years of age who were involved in a maltreatment investigation. The different domains were cognitive, behavioral, social, and daily living. During the literary review, they found that 39 to 51% of children had needs in one or more functional domain, and that disabilities were twice as prevalent in children who were maltreated compared to those who were not maltreated. During their study, they found that in traditional non-kinship placements, 3 times as many children were severely impaired in daily living skills as well as internalizing behaviors. A study conducted by Taylor, Stolker, and Stewart assessed how public services identified and supported disabled children at risk of significant harm. They looked at the decision-making process for investigations, issues faced by practitioners, coordination of services, and practice examples. They found that children with communication impairments were a cause of concern because they could not disclose any information. They also found that when a child's behavior changes from the norm, it could mean that there is a possibility that the child is being neglected or abused in some way usually. In Russia, they had problems when it comes to institutions. The following video segment explains the problems that doctors, parents, and institutions face when it comes to children with disabilities.
In Russia, when a child is born with a disability, parents face pressure from doctors to give their children up. Children end up in orphanages where they may face serious abuse and neglect. I visited 10 orphanages across Russia where children with disabilities live, and in the vast majority, I met dozens of children who were confined to these lying down rooms where they went for hours without any attention, and where many were fed with tubes all day. And I was able to show their photos to a pediatrician who specializes in the health of children with disabilities. This doctor confirmed that these children could have easily developed far more if they had only been given proper health care and nutrition. I spoke with young people who had left institutions who told me that they were subject to severe abuse, such as beatings, sedatives used to control and punish them, and forced psychiatric hospitalization as punishment.
The video also describes some solutions that could be presented to areas like Russia.
Mothers who took their children back after giving them to state care told me that these children developed in ways that far exceeded their expectations, and certainly far more than they expected given what doctors had told them. Time and time again, I've met children with disabilities who've grown up in biological or foster families who have thrived because they've been given love and attention and proper education. The Russian government should reduce the number of children in institutions and make a long-term plan to end the institutionalization of children with disabilities. In the meantime, Russia should make sure that workers in orphanages are aware of the rights and the dignity of children with disabilities. There should be a zero tolerance policy towards violence.
During the Taylor, Stoker, and Stewart study, the participants talked about how they approached communication impairment by bringing in speech and language specialists and used communication aids such as dolls. The use of state-provided assistance such as Arc of the Ozarks can be helpful as well. Programs from Arc of the Ozarks provide classes for parents and employees to help support individuals with disabilities. Borough Health is another local service provider that provides support for individuals with disabilities in their daily living and communication skills as well as the community. I personally work with children with autism spectrum disorder. I provide academic support, teach daily living skills like laundry and cleaning. I teach communication skills and provide support in the community. I not only support the children I work with, but I also support their parents. I provide them with support in taking care of their child and give them tips to help them cope and better understand their child's disability or disorder. My job provides a service and is usually paid by insurance and or the state. Services like mine can help parents to not become abusive, whether intentional or not.